Thank you very much, Kavita ji, for these kind words. I'm really grateful to you and to Veena ji and to Lalita and Admiral Ramdas ji and other members of the Sapan community for giving me an opportunity to do my 2 bits worth of work to promote peace and harmony in South Asia. We have a stellar lineup with us today. We have Ms. Sangeeta Thapa from Kathmandu. We have Chandragupta Tinuwara from Colombo, Lubna Mayamji from Dhaka, T.M. Krishna from Chennai, and Salima Hashmi from Lahore. I'll introduce them individually as their turn to speak comes. But before we start it more formally and head over to our panelists, I would like to say a few words, if everybody permits me, particularly about sort of the moment that the South Asian region is currently passes through and how it in many ways links to its troubled past. So systemic and sporadic violence is not new to South Asia. Since colonial times, its people continue to live under different forms of violence unleashed by the military governments and or authoritarian regimes. At times, I think that the state and perhaps the majoritarian violence is the most enduring legacy of the colonial regime. Beginning from the horrific violence of the partition, South Asia continues to live through wars, internal strife, and in the past 3 decades, in the shadow of imperial violence that casts its dark shadow over the region. Yet the silver lining on this very dark cloud is that many from the region continue to band together across class, regional, caste, ethnic, and linguistic lines to resist all kinds and forms of violence. It would not be an overstatement if I were to claim that this resistance in many instances has been spearheaded by artists from the region and arguably by its poets. Whether it's colonialism, or the partition and its consequences, or the events of 1971 and the War of Independence that led to the emergence of Bangladesh, or the 3 decades-long civil war in Sri Lanka, or the fight led by the communists in Nepal, many brave artists chose the difficult path of siding with the oppressed. Perhaps the pain of violence in our collective inheritance is blunted by the poems of Tagore, Sahir Ludhianvi, Faiz Ahmad Faiz, Ali Sardar Jafri, and many others who eventually became part of the progressive writers movement. Their songs and poems continue to motivate the millions in South Asian region and give them hope for a new dawn. It is of course not a coincidence that Faiz's poetry is sung at protests against CAA NRC in India, and the lines "Hum dekhenge," we shall see, carried the hope of not only the protesters in Delhi, but of all the oppressed people in the region. Similarly, when Pakistani artists and singers composed songs in the support of Indian farmers from the Punjab protesting the controversial Farmers' Bill, it reminded us yet again that the people of the region share a bond that goes beyond the hatred spewed by the state on its TV channels and school textbooks. Despite all the odds, it is the people of the region that continue to imagine a peaceful space and a shared life together. I must confess that I am guilty of the same mistake that is often leveled against the states of India and Pakistan at SAARC. Their bickering continues to hold a regional organization hostage and keep it from achieving its potential for cooperation and building a peaceful South Asia. My examples of the bonds have not gone beyond the border that I share with India as a fellow Punjabi. This fault is entirely of my own making. I have not read wide enough to know more. I must. Yet I do want to claim without hesitancy that these bonds and ideas of shared life together are not limited to Indian and Pakistani Punjab. It is bigger and more powerful than any narrow-mindedness thrust upon us either by the states in the region or our own myopic views. South Asia at this moment in history finds itself at a difficult point, with authoritarian governments from Bangladesh to Pakistan and societies attempting to heal themselves from years of violence, Sri Lanka and Nepal. We need our artists more than ever before. We need our poets to give us hope for a better tomorrow. We need our playwrights and actors to tell us how to dream of a shared life together. We need our musicians and dancers to lift our souls from the entrapments of the tyranny of the state. And we need our painters to draw us the path that leads to a better tomorrow. It is precisely for this reason that we have gathered here today to talk about our shared life, past and present, through the eyes of the artist of the region.